Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody. Thank you for coming. Our plan today is to do, first I'm going to give some updates on where the Institute stands, what our activities have been. We're going to go through a program where we talk a little bit more on updates about our academic achievements. And then the major focus of the town hall meeting is on different opportunities for you to engage with the Institute. And so we've left a good amount of time at the end so that we can have discussion. So the first thing that you may notice since a year ago when we had our town hall is the name change. And we had a couple of reasons for the name change. One is we were advised by the communications team at Columbia that the original name was a bit hard to say and for people outside Columbia to remember, and we should go simpler. And the second reason for the name change was really to signal that this is a university-wide institute and involves people from across the university. The name now parallels some of the other university-wide institutes at Columbia, the Earth Institute and the Mind, Brain, and Behavior Institute. So the mission of the Data Science Institute touches on two main points. First, we're involved in research to exploit the massive amounts of data that is available around the world in order to solve some of the most challenging problems for society today. Second, we're also working on promoting interdisciplinary research, bringing people together across the different schools on campus in order to advance theory and drive applications in the data science space. This was all precipitated by a paradigm shift triggered by the growing size of the digital universe, which is predicted to be at 40 trillion gigabytes by 2020. And of course, this is augmented by all of the ubiquitous sensing and measuring that's going on. Key to our work here at Columbia is that the data crosses many disciplines. So it comes from English, from law, engineering, medicine, journalism, and science. The Institute is run by the executive committee, and again, this is an interdisciplinary committee. We have members from the School of Engineering and Applied Science, from Arts and Science, and from the medical school. In addition to the executive committee, we also have the 6 centers of the committee. And for each center, we have a committee that is in charge of the activities of that center. The center is headed by both a chair and a co-chair. And again, these committees are very interdisciplinary. They draw from arts and science, business, the medical school, GSAP, journalism, law, public health, SEAS, and SEPA. The centers include the Center for Cybersecurity, where we're looking at how we can keep our data safe. The Center for New Media, where we're looking at how we can develop technology to connect people. The Center for Financial Analytics, where we're looking at how we can predict financial failures and avoid them in the future. The Center for Smart Cities, where we're looking at how we can monitor the infrastructure of our cities and protect them. And the Center for Health Analytics, where we're developing technology to improve patient health. And underlying all of this is the Center for Foundations of Data Science, where we're working on technology for machine learning, statistics, optimization, and so forth. Now, the centers are not fixed. We have a mechanism for adding new working groups, and over the past year, we've added 2 new working groups. One of them is called Sense, Collect, and Move Data, and it's really at the infrastructure level. You can see this diagram here, which puts what we would call the applications of data science at the top in green, and across the bottom, the work that crosses all of these applications and supports them. So the working group on Sense and Move Data is one of them. They're looking at how we can develop advanced sensing, how we collect new data, and how we can move it efficiently from one place to another. A second new working group is on materials discovery and analytics, and today it's very difficult to pose hypotheses and explore the different materials with new properties to find them. There are just far too many possibilities. And so this group is looking at how it can make use of machine learning and prediction, mathematical models, in order to automatically discover what the new properties of materials should be. One of the mandates of the Institute has been to hire in the data science area. Shown here are all of the hires across the university since the Institute was formed in the areas of data science. So in engineering, we have really been focused on hiring in this area. We have hired 10 new faculty. A number of them are in the area of machine learning: David Bly, Daniel Su, John Paisley. But we also have people in the applications area. So people from financial analytics, cybersecurity, and new media. In arts and science, we've had people join also in the foundations area in statistics, so again, machine learning and prediction. Also in English, our first faculty hire in computational English. And at the medical center, we have had hires in the areas of systems biology, Yu-Fen Shen and Harris Wang, in clinical applications, Nicholas Tatanetti, and in statistics. We have been working on renovating space, and this is space where the engineering faculty who are hired will go. Northwest corner on the 10th floor has just been completed, and we're just moving faculty into that space. You can see here faculty office and the lab space that's available there. We also are completing space on the 4th floor of MUD and the 5th floor of MUD. Those of you in MUD are experiencing a little bit of disruption with the construction. This is an artist's rendering of what the 4th floor of MUD will look like when completed. And then the 14th floor of the northwest corner is expected to be completed in May, and this is a picture as it looks now, so not yet underway. One of the facilities that will be available there, which is really stunning, is a large conference room which will enable people to hold meetings, again, across departments and schools. I wanted to note, before I move on to our other areas, some of our upcoming events. So we have two major ones planned. On March 31st, we have an industry summit, and the idea here is that we want to showcase the research that's going on in data science at Columbia to industry. And so we're going to have a series of faculty lightning talks, and as well, a major part of it will be a 2.5-hour time period for demos. We've sent out a call for demos, and we hope you and your students will respond. It's also on the handout, so that you can find the information about it there. And we're planning opening and closing talks by industry leaders. We also will have on the following day, April 1st, what now will become a tradition of our biannual symposium. This will be held in Low Library. We're calling it Data on a Mission, Impacting Privacy, Cities, and Finance, and our speakers for that have been set. We will have Julie Brill, who is chair of the FTC, and who will speak on topics related to privacy and security. Michael Kearns from the University of Pennsylvania, who will speak on machine learning for finance, and then we will have a Smart Cities panel. We here have an opportunity for all of you to become engaged. We will have a lunch session with posters. So again, we'll be doing a call for posters, and we hope people will encourage their students to submit. Our symposium will be a half day, and following that we will have a mini symposium on the Internet of Things, which will be held here with speakers from industry. So I'm going to turn it over now to Trish Culligan, who's going to tell you where we stand on our academic programs.
Thanks, Kathy. I just have a few slides that are updating some of the academic programs that the Institute has introduced and some of the programs that we hope to be introducing over the next year or so. So the exciting news for this academic year was that the New York State did eventually approve our Master of Science in Data Science. That's actually a 10-course MS degree that is interdisciplinary. It has 7 core courses and then 3 tracks that the students can pick that can either track the interests of the centers or working groups that we have in the Institute, can track entrepreneurship, or they can design their own 3-course elective track there. Because the Master of Science was approved pretty late in the day. It was approved in August. We weren't able to admit a very large cohort. We had issues with students that would need visas from overseas, and there were also some intricacies with financial aid. So we targeted a very small cohort for admission. We have about 20 students in the program right now. The selectivity for this program was very high. We had 800 people start the applications, and I'm not sure on how many completed the applications, but we're on track for about 800 have started the applications now, and the completion date is going to be February 15th. So right now I think we have close to 300, maybe a little bit over 300 completed applications, but that number might actually rise over the weekend. And we're targeting to admit about 70 students into the cohort for next fall. And we have had about 1,000 inquiries to date about the program, so it's definitely generating a lot of interest. And the type of students that we're getting to applying to the program are very, very broad in interest. We have students that already have master's degrees in analytical areas. We have some students that actually have PhDs, and we have some students that are qualified to practice in medicine. So it's been great seeing the broad range of interests that we're getting. And we've also seen, in comparison to the other master's programs that, at least through the School of Engineering and Applied Science, we're engaged in, a greater fraction of the applicants are coming from the US, and many of them from top universities. So we're very happy with the applicant pool that we're receiving for this. And this just shows a map of where some of the students came from in last year's cohort. And I think this year, as I said, we're on track to see a similar application pool coming in. You might recall that we did introduce the certification, which is joint across the School of Engineering and Applied Science and Arts and Science, into the curriculum in fall 2013. That's a part-time program. It's intended to target working professionals that actually want to retool their expertise to get engaged in data science. So they're students that may be seeking to move into a new career track track or are working in companies where data science is becoming key to the marketability of that company. And that's a 4-course program that's offered in the evening, 2 in the fall and 2 in the spring. We currently have about 30 students enrolled in that. We're going to be graduating our first cohort of about 20 students. We've actually found the demand for this is probably online. Even local working professionals find it hard to take 2 days out of their evenings to come and take these courses. So what we're targeting for next year is to try and get these 4 courses online so that local students and students that are not located in New York or even in the US can take advantage of this program. So we've been working with CVN in the School of Engineering and Applied Science to try and get some of those programs online. So that's something that we hope to be able to roll out next fall. And finally, we're working on developing a PhD in data science. David Bly, who Kathy mentioned, was one of our new hires, and he's joined across statistics and computer science, is in charge of developing this program. We think fall 2016 is an ambitious target, but we're going to be trying to make that, so that will be a PhD in this area. We are also looking at the 4-program certification that we've developed, acting as a concentration in other master's programs across the campus. So if you're in a department or you're engaged with a program that might be interested in doing this, please come and talk to me. QMSS, Quantitative Methods in Social Science, is already using this. So the students are getting a degree in QMMS with a concentration in data science if they follow the certification. We have introduced into the university curriculum this spring a course that's called Introduction to Data Science. It's targeted at non-analytical students in the professional schools, in law, in CEPA, in business, in the School of Public Health, for example, who don't want to get data science skills, but who want to understand what is happening in the data science arena that might impact their future profession or might impact the companies that they're going into. So that's actually been offered this spring. It's the first time we've offered it, and I think we have about 30 students engaged in that program right now. And the last thing we're working towards is online executive education. There's a big demand in this area, and we're hoping to develop sometime over the spring and summer something that could showcase Columbia University's expertise in data science and also the fields that have been impacted by data science. And we're calling it data science in context right now, and that's something that we think could not only bring visibility to the talent on campus in this particular sphere, but could also bring potential new industry sponsorship to the Institute and interest in getting engaged in Columbia University in this particular space. So that's the education update. Just before I finish, I want to say that some of the deans of the schools that are engaged in the Data Science Institute have expressed interest in faculty cross-developing courses across the school in this particular space. So maybe somebody with data science expertise co-teaching a course with somebody in English or in policy or in public health. So that's something that we might be exploring for the rest of this semester and going on into the summer. So you can expect to hear from us about that. And if you have a personal interest, or if there are a couple of people that have a personal interest in developing something like that, we would love to hear from you. And I think now I am handing it over to Sharon Spots, who is our Director of Strategic Programs. Many of you will have already heard from Sharon. She's been very active and engaged at trying to get to know the research that's going on the campus so that she can present that to our industry affiliates. She only started in June 2014, but I think she's actually already made quite an impact. And we were lucky to get her from BAE Systems, where she was in business development, and she actually came from being responsible to identifying and quantifying $100 million of opportunities for BAE. So we're actually really excited to have been able to get her onto our Columbia University campus.
Thank you, Trish, for such a warm welcome. and I am really, really elated to be here. It's been a fabulous 7-8 months, and I look forward to, I hope, many, many years. So just to kind of give a little bit of an update, I don't know if everybody's familiar, but as part of the Data Science Institute, we have an industry affiliates program, and that program is really focused on engaging industry. It's built around what I like to brief as 3 basic tenets around our reputation, our education, and our research. And I am delighted that we have 3 new signed affiliates. Booz Allen Hamilton has joined us, General Electric, which is actually really, I think, very, very exciting, with a lot of opportunity because they're such a broad company. They have both GE Capital on the financial side, as well as the commercialization, the products, and the services. So it's exciting. And then VSP Global. If you don't know VSP, they were here, they visited. We had a great team of professors and faculty engaged and involved, and their whole motto is around helping people see. Have a number of businesses, not just the healthcare side, which gives us a big opportunity in a lot of research that seems very exciting. Something that I wanted to make clear about the industry engagement is it's not just about the affiliates program itself, but it's really about getting industry to sponsor research with us. So we've been doing this. We're getting some traction, getting some success. We're hoping to close a couple, I'm hoping this week, maybe. But they really go across the 6 centers. So we have research that we're looking to get sponsored in video image classification, which is involving our NLP and our video imaging. We have detecting anomalous behaviors, both on the banking side of the house as well as on the cybersecurity side of the house. Improving sales and market effectiveness through different classification and segmentation algorithms. And then we have different programs looking at novel sensors, specialized electronics, looking at financial systemic risks. So really my message to you is I'm really here to grow the Institute, and that's by engaging with you. So if there's ideas that you have that you want funded, that you're working with industry, you want to work with industry, come find me. I'm usually infinitely available on my cell phone. You can find me in MUD 524, and I am happy to engage and support anybody's ideas. Just to give a little bit of insight into the amount of activity that we have going on. Again, this is all focused with industry around our reputation, our education, and our research. So we are looking to have a cybersecurity breakfast and executive engagement. We have an iCubed series, which is a seminar series, which our industry affiliates come here. They have technical briefings and engage with our students. We have hackathons going on, and then we have a number of more engagement where industry comes and engages with our professors. We have different kinds of meetings in that regard. The financial and business analytics is having a workshop with Bloomberg, and then Kathy spoke about the big events that we're having in the spring. In terms of really trying to increase the amount of funding that comes into the Institute, I'm looking at a number of different ways of really taking that to the next level. So we're looking at establishing different themes within each center to attract a number of industry partners, as opposed to just going one by one, to really create sort of a halo effect for our members. We're looking to really leverage the vast experience within the Data Science Institute, so that interdisciplinary aspect, as well as across all of Columbia University. Something that I wanted to make sure that I talked about is, so my prior background with BAE Systems, I supported a very technical group, and I spent a large number of years chasing DARPA funding as well as lab funding. And so what I really like to do is go after projects that we create them and they get funded for us, as opposed to getting involved. You guys know how to do NSF, you know how to do NIH, but when it comes to kind of creating and shaping a new opportunity that's really targeted as us, as opposed to competing for it, is something that I like to engage with. So again, if you have ideas that you think would be relevant for DARPA, for government, for different kinds of foundations, I am happy, again, to work towards getting that funding so that we have a higher probability of getting those dollars in. Just another example of where I'm trying to contribute is we had a big NIST proposal that we bid. It required a large amount of industry support as well as government support, foundation support, so it wanted all kinds of letters. And so I was engaged in getting all of that, you know, correspondence to happen so that we had a large number of letters of support as well as matching funding from New York State. So if you have a big center grant that you're going after and you need industry involvement or you need additional support, again, that's an area where I'd be happy to support anybody. So just sort of to give a little bit of a conclusion, so it's really about identifying those individual affiliate members, building the research centers with multiple industry partners, and building a strong suite of industry academic interaction activities. Thank you.
Just two notes to follow up on what Sharon said. She has been instrumental in supporting several of the proposals that have gone out to DARPA and that we have won over the last year. So in addition to industry, she really has a lot of experience, and she will help you in doing that. She mentioned some of the upcoming events. I should say that all of the centers, and we have the center chairs here, so if you have questions about that at the end, plan different activities that are going on. So for example, the Foundation Center will be holding a poster session in February. The Health Analytics Center is planning a challenge where they're inviting students to come and help design mobile apps to use the data that you can collect about your health, so to help out with the quantified self research. Okay, so in terms of opportunities, I hope all of you have seen our posting. The provost has given seed funding to the Institute of $250,000 per year for 3 years, and we've called this Roads, Research, Opportunities, and Approaches to Data Science. We have a call for proposals out. It offers $100K in funding per project. The bad news is that it's due February 16th, so you don't have a lot of time. The good news is that it's short. 5 pages describing your proposal is what's required, in addition to a budget and CV. I've given the URL here, but it's also on your handout, so you can take a look at it there. One of the key criteria, of course, we're going to look at the usual things like quality of the work and the level of interaction between people. But one of the requirements which was set by the provost is that each of these projects should involve faculty from a minimum of 2 schools. So that's one of the things that you should look at first, is finding partners across schools. We've set up a couple of links, web pages, where you can either post that you're looking for partners, or you can go to another link where you can find a list of potential collaborators. And we did this with one of our other proposals that we got in Sloan, and it worked quite well to bring people together, in that case across science and data science. To give you an example, we had 2 awards in 2014. The first one was entitled Learning the Nature of Dark Energy from Weak Gravitational Lensing. And this is a project that brought together people who faculty who work in the area of astronomy, computer vision, and machine learning. The faculty involved are Zoltan Hyman, Joshua Peak, Daniel Su, and Sri Nair. Our second project that was awarded was between psychology and a research scientist who does work in natural language processing at the Center for Computational Learning Systems. And the project is on reducing racial and gender achievement gaps in STEM. And they are looking at how to do this by automatically analyzing intervention essays that students write. And the 2 PIs on this are Valerie Purdy-Vaughns and Speranda Morrison. Okay, so I said that one of our goals was really to bring people together across interdisciplinary boundaries. And in my school, SEAS, one of the main ways that we have for doing that is through proposals and grants. This is a mechanism to bring people together, to provide the funding that enables new kinds of research. And I've shown here pictures of faculty who have come from different schools for one of our successful grants. So this one bridged statistics, computer science, biology, and neuroscience. And of course, one of the goals for the Institute, we do have to worry about how we become financially independent. And this is one of our sources of income. Tuition is another main source of income. So over the last year, we've had quite a bit of success in funding. We've brought in close to $10 million in funding, and this has come from a variety of sources, government sources like the Defense, the Army, DARPA, AFOSR, from NSF, from foundations such as the Moore and Sloan Foundations and the Templeton Foundations, and from the company. So Sharon mentioned that we do find one of the main things that companies are interested in is interacting with our faculty and funding research. We have another $51 million in submitted and pending proposals, so there's a lot of activity here. For faculty who submit their proposals through the Institute, of the ICR that comes to the Institute, 5% goes back to the PIs. We do have a lot of support for working on submitting proposals. One is identification of opportunities, and here Sharon has been very active in talking to different program monitors and finding out what is available, and as well setting us up for shaping some of those. So for example, I was just at an NSF workshop, or a NITRD workshop sponsored by NSF on data science. The kind of support that we provide is both help in the financials, so putting together a proposal, so putting together your proposal budget, as well as some support in grant writing. So in particular, if you're looking at putting out a very large center grant, which again draws people from across schools, we have some of the seed funding from the provost office will go towards support of help in grant writing. These are our two financial staff, Daniel Alicia, who is here in the back. You'll see him by the door. And he's our business manager, the main one in charge. I think a lot of you have already interacted with him. And then Eileen has just joined us. Not sure if she's here. No, okay. But you can find her by Daniel. And so the two of them can support you as you put out the proposal. Some examples of the kind of work that's going on as a result of this activity. So one of our grants is a DARPA Seedling. Again, this is something that came about in part through interaction with the program monitor. So it's funding that comes in, and this is an area in which the monitor would like to launch a larger program. And so the Seedling lets some initial work go on for him to see how feasible it is. This particular project it's led by Tony Jabara from computer science, and it's interesting in that it brings together people from computer science, from IEOR, and also one of our affiliates, Bloomberg. So DARPA was particularly interested in looking at the impact of major events in the news, for example, disasters, and looking at what the impact is on the market and seeing if we can predict for different events what the impact will be. And so Bloomberg comes into this because we can have access to a lot of the financial data. And that's important because nowadays a lot of the data is held by companies. One of the second grants, which was led by Liam Paninsky in statistics, crosses statistics, computer science, electrical engineering, and neuroscience. These were the pictures of the faculty that I showed earlier, and they're looking at mathematical formalisms using reasoning about graphs in order to look at the kind of activity that goes on in the brain. And then finally another one, which is led by Trish Culligan and brings together people from civil engineering, from SEPA, from GSAP, from mechanical engineering, and from earth and environmental, is looking at solutions for urban infrastructures and how we can build them so we can get environmentally sustainable, healthy, and livable cities. Another example of funding that we brought in comes from the Moore and the Sloan Foundation. This is an 18-month project, and what Moore and Sloan was particularly interested in is bridging the gap between the natural sciences and the data sciences. And so they funded 3 clusters, each of which pairs a faculty member from the natural science with a faculty member from data science. And so one of them is joint between physics and electrical engineering. Here, the person from electrical engineering brings expertise in high-dimensional data analysis, and the person in physics has a huge amount of data, multiple layers of microscopy images. A second grant that brings together faculty from oceanography and statistics, and there are a large number of places in the ocean where they have sensors, floats, which collect data about temperature, and they're looking at the impact of the melting Arctic ice on the temperature of the ocean in different places. And then the final one is a joint grant between astronomy and statistics, and they are looking at how planets are formed and die. All right, so I told you that we're planning an industry day. This is an experiment, the first time we've done this, and Tony Jabara has taken the lead in looking at how we might do it. And so Tony is going to come up and tell you what we're thinking about here.
Thank you, Kathy. And as some of you have already seen, we've sent out a call for demo proposals. The demo proposals are due at the end of the month, February 28th. And the idea is to send us a one-page description with your name and contact information, and then an additional 1 or 2 pages of screenshots, and then a URL linking to your demo if it is available online. This is optional. And we will try to get back to people by March 9th to see if you are selected for a demo presentation at Industry Day, which, as we discussed earlier, is on March 31st. Again, we have until the end of the month, but the key idea is to look at what the Media Lab did very successfully with a focus on the media space, and there's a lot of, obviously, industrial interest in that space. We have a similar opportunity here with the Data Science Institute because data science has so much, let's say, industry impact and commercial impact. And so we could also imagine setting up a similar type of large sponsorship pool, which already has been quite successful so far thanks to the efforts of Kathy and Sharon and others. But we could grow this significantly by also presenting to a lot of these current sponsors and prospective sponsors at an Industry Day demos. And over here I've just shown a few pictures of what some of the Media Lab demos look like. We have systems that project, let's say, a touch screen onto your hand and then visually recognize what you're doing on the hand rather than using a physical touch screen. Face tracking systems, some robotic systems, some new displays, some other interactive systems, some new applications and mapping applications. And so these are always, let's say, systems that are immediately understandable by someone who may not be an expert in your field. The Media Lab has been running these types of demo days about 3 times a year, every 4 months. They're called Industrial Symposia. And what happens is the sponsors come to the lab and visit for about a day and a half. This is a day and a half of talks, TED-style talks by a lot of the faculty. And they're designed more to excite and, let's say, recruit the sponsors into the research rather than educate them. So it's not a conference-style talk. And the real idea is when people do these talks and do these demos, it's to show, here's what we've done, but also here's a proposal of things we can do next. And this really encourages the sponsors to start thinking about funding and to think, well, I could enable the next level of this research rather than viewing it as a completed packaged product. What's really nice is the talks are blended with demos throughout the day. So this reduces PowerPoint fatigue. No one wants to sit in a room throughout the day and hear nonstop PowerPoint talks. So throughout the day, we will break up the day with various other activities, panels, and so on. But a really great way to break things up is to have demos. And the way the demos work is the sponsors are broken up into subgroups. I'll talk a little bit more about it and walk around various different demo stations to see about 20-minute long demos. And a lot of this requires effort because you cannot just take the research you've done and just show it the way you would show your colleagues at a conference by saying, here's my PowerPoint, here are my slides, here's my conference paper. A lot of the effort is wrapping the research nugget within a larger demo type system. So this takes effort. A great example is if you want to highlight natural language processing research where you've developed a new algorithm that understands how text is structured. One way to think about wrapping this into a more exciting demo would be to tie it to a speech recognizer and some kind of interface or some graphics. This takes effort, obviously. This may not be the expertise of the researchers. The NLP part might be the expertise, but in couching it that way, all of a sudden, somebody who's not an expert will see the value of that progress in natural language processing in a larger system. So this is kind of one of the typical examples. And the real goal is to make this understandable by everybody. So kind of the students should think about creative ways to explain this research to someone who might be a layperson in the press or someone's grandparent who is not at all an expert. And it's always important to, even though we have sponsors that are very technically literate, to always understand that they're busy and they're not really aware of the lingo and the nomenclature. So the more compelling these demos are, the more a sponsor can just sit down and play with what you've developed, the better kind of appreciated the research is. And so logistically, this will happen during Industry Day from 2 o'clock to 4:30. So this is a nice window while we break, and people will walk around various places in all our buildings. And we hope to have 6 or 7 demo stations. And the idea realistically is we'll have about 20 minutes for each demo. And this gives us about 5 minutes to move around from one place to the other. And then, of course, the sponsors will be broken up into 6 or 7 groups. And I'm saying sponsors, but these might be affiliates. They might be, let's say, research colleagues that work at an industrial lab as well. But these 6 or 7 groups of about potentially 10 people will move around in parallel and swap around. And so the idea is they will all be guided by a person. It could be a faculty member, a staff member, or a student who walks them from one station to the other. The schedule is planned so nobody's colliding at the same, let's say, conference demo at the same time. The groups move in unison, and they each spend these 20 minutes seeing one of the 6 or 7 projects at the same time. And so hopefully this will be successful. It will help spur more interaction with the sponsors and also more funding from the sponsors as they see kind of the real tangible aspect of the research beyond what can be understood from a paper or a PowerPoint presentation. So please submit. Thanks.
So just to note, demos can be physical places where people go, where people are building things or showing experiments. They don't have to be demos of computer systems. Okay, to close, I wanted to say a word about another kind of resource which we have, which are computing resources. So the Institute has bought into the Yeti, which is Columbia's high-performance shared computing cluster. And we're also looking at how to build an infrastructure for sharing data. This is one of the requests that we've gotten from our members, that they have data that they'd like to make available to other people. And furthermore, they'd like to know what other people have. And this is something which we're now actively working on. We've just hired an assistant director of IT, Bruno Scapp. He's working both with us and with biomedical informatics. Bruno is right here in the second row on the right. And one of the advantages of having Bruno here is that as you're working to use the Yeti, if you need assistance in how to parallelize your code, Bruno is available to help. So this is sort of a generic description of what the Yeti cluster is, and I think a lot of you already know, and people have bought in their own departments as well. But it does make available a very high number of nodes and CPU cores for experimental work. Before we did this, I had one of my students experiment with trying it out, and what would usually take at least a week to run ran in less than an hour. So you definitely have a speed up with when you're running large jobs. There are 2 kinds of queues: the batch queue and the interactive queue. The interactive queue should allow you to do some debugging. And then there's a variety of different kinds of software available which can support the kind of work that we need to do in data science. For the data sharing, we're working on this now, so because Bruno just recently started, so we're looking at putting together a centralized storage management which has backup and recovery for data on which people can share. We're also looking into using academic commons for some of our data sets to make available together as part of the Data Science Institute. And then finally, we have just hired a communications director, Kim Martineau. Let's see if Kim is here, right here. And Kim has just started and is helping to get the word out to the community about what's going on in data science at Columbia. So if you have an interesting story about your work, please talk to Kim. We're looking for stories to publish. Okay, so with that, we end the formal part of the presentation and we open it up for questions to you. Yes.
I'll start.
Okay.
I'm just curious, there's a lot of data initiatives around the U.S. and internationally. I'm curious whether you've thought about or have a strategy for connecting with groups.
Yeah, so
the Alliance, there's several government initiatives, OSTP, there's a lot going on. And you've already talked sort of about the Columbia focus, and can you say something about the external?
yeah, so there are a lot going on. We've done some work in looking at what our peers are doing and how they're the same or different from what's going on at Columbia. I think one of the key distinguishing characteristics of the work at Columbia is that it is far more interdisciplinary than the work that we see going on at other places. So, for example, NYU tends to focus a bit more on the foundations of data science. We are looking for ways that we can connect, and so, for example, one of the recent, it was a RFI from NSF for forming regional hubs on data science, and we submitted on that with jointly with NYU and Cornell Tech. A key part of that RFI was engagement with industry, and we got, I don't know, I would say up to about 10 companies to sign on to join with us, and where we were particularly looking at issues of data sharing across industry and academia. That is a continuing theme of how industry holds the majority of the data, and it's really a resource which academia needs access to. And so that's one effort that we've done. I happen to be on the board of several data science institutes, so I've gotten a chance to go in and see what they're doing. I am on the University of Edinburgh has an advisory board. I've gone in there. I was just asked to be on University of Massachusetts at Amherst advisory board. So we get a sense there of what's going on and look for possibilities for collaboration. But we're very open to suggestions, so sometimes people who are working in particular domains, see opportunities. Sometimes some of the opportunities are focused on particular types of data. So if you have suggestions, we'd like to hear. Yes?
So this question might be too specific, but since nobody else is asking.
Okay.
I'm from astronomy, so I'm interested in natural science, data science connection. And I know you mentioned the more Sloan clusters that started. Is it seen that there's some center that's going to grow out of that? And how do you move to a cluster? What's going on?
Okay, so we would like to see working groups come out between natural science and data science. That's certainly one of the goals of the Moore and Sloan Foundation in funding this work, is that they want to see a stronger connection between natural science and data science across, nationally. So yes, we hope that will happen. It has to be started by people who are in the field, and most likely by the people who have the funding, but I'm sure they would, welcome additional people who are interested to join in on that. We certainly hope the Moore Sloan funding will grow into something larger, and that's what we're working towards, so that we can grow these clusters. But they're in new territory in doing this, and so we just have to see.
Those were working groups. I thought they were individual grants.
There are two different. There's the funded clusters. And we hope that this initial funding from Moore and Sloan will grow into something bigger. That's something that we're working on, so that we could expand the number of clusters or the number of faculty that are within each cluster. So that's one sort of effort or goal that we're working on. We also would welcome a working group in the area of natural science and data science. So we would need to get a proposal in from the faculty in that area. Bob?
Do we have instruction on how to
the proposal is short. It can be 1 to 2 pages. You can send it to me or to Jonathan Stark, who's our Director of Operations. Okay, Bob?
Now that you have students and you anticipate having a lot more, I assume they'll be interested in internships. Have you plans? And there are 2 types. One is to place them in all these industry partners, and the other is to place them around Columbia. So do you have plans for how you're going to?
Yeah, we have plans on both sides. I'll see if Sharon and Trish want to respond to that.
And are there?
I have to talk in the mic, sorry, because it's being recorded. We have a part-time person who's appointed to help with exactly that. And so she's appointed to help with job placement of our students and also with placement with internships. She's focused more on our industry partners, but we also have a lot of interest from New York City government, for example. They would love to see our students placed in positions like that. We haven't looked around the campus, but if you think there are opportunities for the students at Season, for example, or if anyone thinks there's opportunities for the students on campus, we'd love to hear from you. And so we do have a mechanism for connecting the students with potential employees, both as interns or full-time.
Yeah, and I would add to that some of the centers are interested in working on setting up a sort of consulting service where the many number of master's students in their area can be available to work with people in another domain to help them with the problem. So I think IEOR in particular is looking at that, providing people who have a lot of knowledge and working with large data sets to work with people in finance. That's one example, but of course we could extend that out. Yes?
So I'm working up at the Medical Center, and we have a lot of clinical data. We look at people's genomes. And so having access to compute power and expertise on how to sort of pull information out of that data is very exciting, but at the same time, there's always privacy issues. So I don't know how to start the conversation and actually who to contact and develop a proposal. On how to share this data in a safe way.
So one, you should probably talk to Bruno because he's working at both places, data science and at biomedical informatics, where he does have to deal with security issues. But Noemi, do you want to say something here because you've been interested in this?
I guess it's not really good news. We don't have a good setup for sharing clinical data, or at least the EVAP predicted type of data for now across the different departments and schools. We're thinking of different ways to provide it, and one of them might be a general IRB. I mean, there's several levels of institutional and legal things to go through. One of them, at least, to alleviate institutional issues, to come up with a general IRB. It has some obstacles to it. We're thinking about it. We'd love some feedback, actually. So if you want to do more, after that.
Okay, other questions? I'm looking at Bob because he's like moving his hand, so I'm thinking like, okay, something else is coming. Yeah.
I always have lots of questions. So, when it was IDSE, it was set up with sort of sackers. and there were sort of well-defined faculty who were identified. But obviously there are a lot of other people interested in the Data Science Institute. So what's your mechanism for sort of building that community out and developing, different types of affiliation, or whatever you're calling it, other than sort of being in that formal faculty list? Because there are also a lot of non-faculty researchers and staff who may be interested.
Sure, yeah.
All the students at all different levels and visitors and so forth. So is there some...
Well, we do have, if you're interested in being an affiliated member, we do have that possibility, and we have a fairly large list of people who are affiliated. The advantage for doing that is when Sharon is looking at, okay, I've got this funding opportunity and I'd like to see who might be a good person, she can look at that list. So we definitely engage quite a few people who are not on center committees or who are not center chairs in interaction with companies or with putting together grants. So that's a possibility. The other possibility we do, the government structure allows for change, and so I think even every year we could add new members to the center committees and move people off. Certainly at every 2-year period, that is when we formally have for looking at it and see whether people want to continue and so forth. And I'm certain there is opportunity there if you'd like to participate in a center and be more actively engaged. You could send an email to me, Trish, or Jonathan, and let us know how you want to be engaged.
Okay, so that's the best way. It's not like
a web.
Website.
We don't have a website where you can, we don't have a form filling thing on the website, although that's a good idea. We probably should.
Yeah, I just let me reiterate, it's not quite like the Earth Institute, Bob. So the bylaws of the Institute were built to enable faculty to rotate in and out of the Institute so that it's not just ossified with the people that initially started the centers and that. So there is people that are interested in being. I didn't mean that as a criticism. I'm just saying that we realize that it's such a large interdisciplinary field, and it goes across almost every area of the university. That we wanted a mechanism to enable people to come in and out to the space as they were interested and as their time permitted too. So we built change into the structure of the institute.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure the chairs and co-chairs would welcome hearing from people who wanted to be about being engaged.